In this video, we're going to be making a trivet, also called a hot plate. Lots of different color combinations that you can do with this, but I'm going to make another one that looks similar to this. Okay, so you're going to need some cotton yarn. It's important to use cotton so that when you're putting something hot on top of it, it doesn't melt like it would with acrylic yarn. For this project, I have like the Bernat Handy Crafter yarn. So it's considered, I think it's a weight 4, it looks like a weight 4. So I actually double strand it, but if you had a thicker cotton, you could only, you could do single strand. I use mine with a 7mm hook, and I find that double stranding this yarn fits perfectly with my 7mm. Some scissors and a darning needle. Let's get started. Okay, so we are going to start with a magic ring. Okay, and a chain 2. Now that chain 2 isn't going to count as a stitch. It's really just there to secure our magic circle and then also bring us up high enough to do all of our double crochets. So we're going to do 16 double crochet into the magic circle. I've got to say, the Bernat Handicrafter cotton is not my favorite to work with. It gets really like stuck together really easily, which is kind of frustrating when you're working with it. But I have a big stash of it, and so this is what I use it for. Once I'm done my stash, I think I'm probably never gonna buy it again. So let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we've got 4 more to go. I also find that it picks up dirt really easily as well, or dog hair and stuff like that. We have a dog in our house. Whoops. And it almost like it's like it bites into the hair, like it doesn't let it go, so it's really difficult to keep clean. But of course, if you didn't have a dog in the house or a cat, it wouldn't be a problem. There we go. We pull that nice and snug, and there's our circle. Now, keep in mind that our chain 2 at the beginning does not count as a stitch. It's kind of lost in here, but this loop at the top does. If you ever are questioning if you're slip stitching into the right spot, you just count backwards from your hook. So we're gonna go backwards. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a hair right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So that's our 16th stitch, and that's exactly where we're gonna go. So we'll slip stitch in here. Okay, so now we're going to chain 2. This one is going to count as a stitch now. So we're going to chain 2 for a double crochet, chain 2 again, and then double crochet back into the same stitch. We're going to do a series of these V's all the way around. So we're going to skip 1 stitch here, and into the next one we're going to double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet into the same stitch. So see here that we've got a couple of V's coming out. We're going to do that every other stitch all the way around. So let's see it again. So we'll skip 1 stitch into the next. We are going to double crochet, chain 2, and then double crochet into the same stitch. Okay, and we're going to do that all the way around. My personal favorite cotton yarn would probably be from Hobby. They have a cotton yarn called Hobby Rainbow, and it is, I'd almost say it's a weight 3 cotton. I usually have to size down my hook than what I would normally use for a worsted, but it is so soft. So I use that for all of my like amigurumi type projects. And I've used it on some of these before. I actually end up using 3 or 4 strands of that with my 7mm hook to get the same kind of look as this. But honestly, I think for like a trivet type project, people wouldn't normally expect to see like a really soft trivet. Normally they're kind of coarse and hold their shape really well. So I find that this yarn, even though it's not my favorite to work with, does a good job. Okay, so here we are at the end. What we're going to do is slip stitch into our chain 2. So we had chain 1 and chain 2. So that second chain there, we're gonna go right into it and slip stitch. Okay, now we're going to slip stitch into our chain 2 spot. So this one right here, because we're gonna be working out of that spot. So basically you've done 2 slip stitches to get to where we need to be. And okay, so working into our next round, we are going to chain 2. And then we are going to double crochet into the same chain 2 space. And now we're going to chain 3 instead of 2. We're gonna get a little bit bigger here. Okay, and then we're going to do 2 double crochet into the same chain 2 space. So if you take a look at it, it's very similar to what we did in our first round. We made a bunch of V's all the way across. We're doing the same thing here, just we're making it a little bit wider. Okay, so we're going to skip this little section right here and only work into the chain 2 spaces. So we're going to do 2 double crochet. There's 1 and 2. Now we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then we will work 2 double crochet into the same chain 2 space. Okay, so it's kind of looking like this now, looking like a bit like a star. We'll do it again, so only in the chain 2 space. 2 double crochet. Chain 3. And 2 double crochet. Okay, so we're going to do that all the way around. Now I'm obviously making these trivets to use up some of that Bernat handicrafter yarn that I have, but I also was kind of surprised to see they're really good sellers at markets, especially fall markets when people are looking for little tiny gifts to bring to like Thanksgiving dinners and all that kind of stuff. These always go over really well, especially if you're using like seasonal colors. I've kind of found that the ones that are like a dark color, like if you were to make this in red or something all the way through, don't generally sell as well as if I were to do like a cream center with kind of like an accented border or just cream all the way around. Cream seems to be the top seller, but you know, I'd also love to hear if you guys do something different and you know, if it works better for you. Okay, so we're just getting to the end here. Here we are. And we're going to slip stitch again. So again, we're going into the chain 2. So we have 1 chain, 2 chains. Okay, slip stitch. And we're going to end up slip stitching all the way over to our chain 3. So another slip stitch into our double crochet and a slip stitch into our chain 3. Now it's important to keep those slip stitches pretty loose. If you do them a little bit tighter, it ends up kind of tugging everything in towards each other, and it looks very obvious that it's a slip stitch. When it's done loosely like that, you can't really tell. So you can see here we've got a nice star pattern going up. We're going to expand again in just the solid cream here. So we're going to chain 2. And now we're going to be doing a total of 3 double crochets on each side. So on this side, we're going to work 2 more because that chain 2 counts as a stitch. Okay, we're still going to do a chain 3. We're getting pretty big here. And another 3 double crochets into the same spot. Okay, so this is what we're looking at right now. Getting bigger and bigger as we go. Again, we are going to skip this little center section in here and only work into the chain 3 spaces. So we're going to do 3 double crochet. Okay, and then, oops. Where did you come from, little knot? Here we go. And then we're going to do a chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And 3 more half double crochet. There we go. So we're going to do that all the way around in all of the chain 3 spaces. Okay, so there we go. We finished that round. We're gonna go ahead and slip stitch again into the chain 2 here. Oops. Get in there we are. And we're going to slip stitch all the way to the chain 3 space. Again, keeping our slip stitches relatively loose so that they're not cinching anything up. Okay, so that's what it looks like there. Now, if you want to go ahead and just do a single color all the way around, you're gonna just go ahead into the next step here. However, if you're going to be changing into a new color, I'm gonna show you how to do that right now. All right, so if we're going to change colors at this point, what I like to do, I'm gonna show you this one again. The ends aren't tied in, but I like to go kind of 1 and 1. So incorporate my original color with kind of a new one for like a speckle look around the outside. If you wanted to add a completely new color, you can do a full color change. But for me, I'm just doing a color change on one of these strands. So how I do that is I'm going to give one of these a pretty good tail here. Cut 1. There we are. And bring in my new color. So I'm going to use yellow for this one. And I'm going to undo my last slip stitch here. So now I've only done the slip stitches into the double crochets, but not into that chain 3 space. So I'm going to go in under insert, and I'm going to pull out my new color and my one working strand. I'm going to leave aside this new cut strand and leave it there. And bring in my new one and bring it through. So now I have the colors that I want on my hook. I'm going to just go ahead and do 1 chain to get started and secured, and I'm going to go back here and I'm just going to knot these 2 together. We will sew in the ends later, but you're not going to see any knots in your finished work. Okay, so now we've got everything that we need. The color change is right exactly where we want it, and we can get started on the final round. So we'll go ahead, we'll finish our chain 2. Okay, so now what we're going to do is work 2 more double crochets. We're going to chain 2 this time, so not 3. And we'll do 3 double crochets on the other side. Okay, so that's what it looks like there. Give me a second here while I just sort out all my yarn on this side. Everything wants to tangle up really nicely over here. I'm right at the end of my cream skein, so it's kind of falling apart. This is what it looks like, so it's really tangly. There we go. Okay, so now we've done our kind of like 3 stitches, so our chain 2, 2 double crochet, chain 2, and 3 double crochet. Now we're going to chain 1. And we're going to work into this center piece here for the first time ever. So just kind of to connect everything all together, we're going to do a double crochet into this space. Okay, and then we're going to chain 1 and start into this chain space here. So this is another chain 3. We're going to double crochet 3. And chain 2 and double crochet 3. Okay, so now we're getting to this space here again, so we're going to chain 1, work a double crochet into there, chain 1 again, and now we're working into another chain 3 space. So we'll do 3 double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet 3. Oh, almost forgot one. We forgot our chain 1 stitch and then double crochet in the middle. Okay, another chain 1, and then we're okay, so we've got to the end here. Flatten this out. We finished with a chain 1 on our way back to this, this space here. Now I'm gonna go ahead and cut my yarn, give it a pretty good tail so it's easier to sew together. And what I'm going to do is finish with like a seamless finish. So we'll pull this all the way through. Grab our 2 strands of yarn. And we are going to go through the second stitch. So our chain 2 counts as a stitch. Our second stitch is this one. So we're going to go through the 2 top bars here. Okay, and then coming back to the chain 1, just picking up the back loop here. Okay, and all that does is it creates like a fake stitch on top there. So you would never even know, it's seamless. You would never know that it was there. And so I'm gonna just bring this back through this stitch here, kind of weaving it through. So it gets nice and secure from going back and forth and back and forth all the way down. So that is what it looks like there. Let's go ahead and just kind of sew in all of our tails. I like to do all of mine individually. So instead of the two strands together, I find it in my head, I feel like it secures it better by doing it separately. I don't have any proof of that, but in my head, it makes it easier. So, or more secure. So for this yarn tail that goes around the magic circle, all I do is just kind of weave it all the way around the circle again. With the cotton yarn being so grippy, it's really not going to come apart. You don't have to do this like 3 or 4 times all the way around. I usually just go 1.5 on the one strand here. There we go. Okay, so that one is done. We'll just cut it nice and close. It's not going anywhere. On the second strand, I'll probably just go around once. Okay, looks good. We'll cut that off too. Okay, and then what we have left are kind of around our color changes here. So for these guys, obviously for the yellow strands, I'm only going to be weaving it around the outside here where there actually is yellow. So I normally just kind of go back and forth around here where the yellow is. So I'll show you what that looks like. Basically coming underneath all of these stitches here. Once, nice and snug. And then making sure that I go in through a different path in the opposite direction. Okay, going through some stitches when I can, so it gets locked. You'll know that it went a different, a different path through there if I can't pull it all the way out. So my stitches actually stopped somewhere in here where it's looped over, so that's good. And I'll go back a 3rd time. Once it gets zigzagged like that, 1, 2, 3 times, you can't pull it in any direction where it's actually just gonna unravel. So that's how I like to secure my ends. So that is nice and secure. I can tell that that 3rd pass I made through, my yarn tail stopped about here. So it's come through about halfway, come back, and all the way back through. So it's not going anywhere. I will cut that there. Okay, and then the other color change yarn, here we are. I'm actually going to carry it down to this one here. That's just personal preference. I don't like to weave in a bunch of strands into the same little section there because that section gets really thick and kind of tough. And I can tell that that's where my color changes, and I don't like being able to tell, but that's where it is. So we'll come down into here. Bearing in mind that this color change was also knotted with the 2 strands together, so really it's not going anywhere at all. But obviously you don't want your yarn strands to be coming undone either after some use. It just doesn't look nice. Until I'm going through some tough stitches in here. Where are you? There we are. Good. I think for this yellow piece, I'm going to bring it over to this section here to hide it. Just basically going off what I was saying before, that I don't like weaving in ends into the same stitch. Okay, so just hiding it. You can see what I'm doing here is just kind of flowing through all the stitches. Doesn't have to be exact. You're really not going to be able to tell that you have an extra thread there. Okay. And there you have it. That is your completed trivet. This one was with one color change on one of the strands. And it looks really pretty. Great job.